that leads me to introducing our next panel, which is on something that sort of has been the current underneath this whole day. AI, of course, and the headline for this panel is AI Made in Europe. Can AI be made in Europe? Well, that's what we're going to debate now. Of course it can. The question is how. The panel will be moderated by Cecilia Bonefeldt-Dahl, again, the Director General of Digital Europe. And I will mention the panel now in the order that they are, not in the order they're supposed to sit. They will sit down in this order. Please do so. And I encourage you to get out your phones, not to write on it other than questions, because we will take questions on this panel. So please welcome on stage Minister of Digital Transformation in Slovenia, Emilia Stojmenova, Area Managing Partner at the EY, Julie Lynn Teigland, Chief Digital Officer at Schneider Electric, Peter Beckeza, Director General, DG Connect, European Commission, Roberto Viola, Member of the European Parliament and Rapporteur for the AI Act, Dragos Tudorache, and Minister of Digital Governance in Greece, Dimitris Papastergiou.
Yeah,
Please bid them welcome on stage.
Thank you. I was looking for these.
Yes.
So
and,
first,
can I kindly ask you to just yes. Sorry. Yes, I'll take the last one.
I'm glad that it was your turn to move all the participants around. In the last panel that I facilitated, I had to ask everybody to move around, right? So it's first of all, excellent panel. Couldn't be better. We have two ministers here. We have Mr. Digital from Connect. And of course, MEP heading. Thank you for the battle on the AI Act, and of course from Schneider and Julie for EY. So I don't think that this could be a better panel to discuss AI. It's taken the stage, right? Everybody's looking at what Europe is doing on AI, the AI Act. You know, how can we control the animal of AI? In the meanwhile, while being famous for regulation, we also have a situation where we know that only 8% of the companies in Europe are using AI, 50% in the US and 70% in China. We know for sure that, I mean, we have some companies now. I mean, on the happy note, we do have champions both in France and Germany, in the Nordics, popping up. But still, I mean, they are not amongst like the world's biggest leading companies in AI. So the question is, how do we do it with this? How do we end up as it says here, you know, a digital powerhouse 2030, also on artificial intelligence? It's been one of the technologies that has been mentioned as a critical technology in society and where we need resilience. So what else than the AI Act? So let's try to have a broader discussion. What are if we have, the goal is to be a digital powerhouse on AI, 2030, a part of it is the AI Act, but there are many other factors. How do we actually get there? And how do we ensure that more than 6% of the venture capital funding actually goes to Europe? Because that is actually the case today. So today, the questions are, of course, alignment of international governance. How can we implement this in a smooth way? And how do we boost the uptake and the creation of AI? And to start with, I would like to launch a poll. So grab your phones and answer the question on, do you think that the AI Act will have a positive or a negative impact on European competitiveness? So we will see over time, we will see if it has a positive or a negative impact on our competitiveness of AI. We'll return to that later. So let me start with the Digital Minister of Slovenia, with Emilia, if I may. Thank you. We met several times. Not only are you a minister, you're actually also a professor in AI. I have to say this because I think it's so cool. I mean, what's the Slovenian government's vision of integrating artificial intelligence into the national strategy now? What are the elements that are most important?
Thank you so much once again. Thanks a lot to Digital Europe for organizing such a nice event and for being able to speak to so many excellent people here during this event. So I would like to start first that artificial intelligence is nothing new. In Slovenia, we have experts that are working in artificial intelligence, not only in research, but also they're teaching artificial intelligence for more than 50 years. What is new is generative AI. Another thing is that is new is that we have data infrastructure that is much more powerful. We have supercomputers, and we have a lot of data. These are the new things, and that's why we have generative AI possible there. So what Slovenia did in 2021, we have adopted a national program on artificial intelligence. We have defined what are our priorities. Our priorities are health, industry, public services, environmental and spatial planning, and so on and so on. We have adopted our Digital Slovenia strategy as well. Our government adopted that last year. So we don't see artificial intelligence as something that is isolated from the rest of the digital transformation of the country. Because we're speaking a lot about lack of experts in AI, but we're speaking also about lack of digital skills, not only in the ICT sector, but lack of digital skills in the country, because we need those skills everywhere. What the Slovenian government is doing to somehow involve artificial intelligence? The first thing our panel I was participating today, it was about connectivity. So if we want to make full use of artificial intelligence, we must provide very good connectivity. What Schneider Electric is doing, private 5G, also to have full coverage of 5G in the territory. Another thing what we are doing, I don't know if you're aware, even that Slovenia is only a country of 2 million people, we have one of the supercomputers. We're one of the rare countries, not only in Europe, but in the world. And we're already considering about upgrading our supercomputer. We are also participating not only with the European Commission when we're preparing our different legislation, but we're also collaborating with international organizations because we truly believe that artificial intelligence is not something to do only with Europe, but we need to collaborate with the rest of the world. Another most important thing is we are trying to make sure that our companies have access to talent. That they have access to workers so that they are available to get the people in the country or outside of the country. It is a very hard work. I'm sure that even the larger countries are facing with, but at least we are speaking a lot about the challenges we are facing, and we are trying to seek for solutions. A lot of times we hear from the companies also criticism that the government should lower the taxes, that the government should maybe work more about incentives and less about regulation. But I think what we are doing with the regulation is a good thing, is a positive thing, if I refer to your question. Why I started my career in a large telecommunication company. And from that experience, I know that the best thing for companies is to have predictability. And if you have legislation, then you are making a closer step to predictability. I would like to thank also the European Commission for that. Maybe I will just stop here.
Thank you so much. So turning to you, Roberto. So you've been in Connect since 15, and you are actually also, you have a PhD in electrical engineering. So you are, I think we can tell that you are a specialist at all, in digital, both in practice, but also in policy. So now we have this new AI office. So industry has been calling for no more endless agencies in the member states. Let's do this, one way, all over Europe, one place. So how is it going to work? How are you going to work with industry, and how are you going to work with the member states?
Yeah, thank you, Cecilia. Thank you for inviting me. So indeed, in these days, the AI office comes into life. You see, I mean, a nice robot shaking hands with a human. We had endless nights with Dragos and the negotiating from Parliament. We really thank the Parliament for having had this idea to have European governance. And we were really trying to suggest what the co-legislator agreed that this should stay within the European Commission, not because we want to accumulate power, but because we can have a lot of synergies, which is useful because the AI office will be 100 people, not bad, but not really, I mean, an infinite number of people. But then it will work with the platform where we have DSA and DMN teams, which also have plenty of experts in algorithms, and our supercomputing branch, where we have all the beautiful European supercomputers and the quantum computers. So they will be all in the same place. And then they can swing from issues about more regulatory compliance, but also, and that's because the mandate of the AI office will be development of AI and, of course, oversight the AI Act. And the two will keep together because we need to always look at the two sides of the coin. So the idea is that in a couple of days now, the vacancy notice for the expert will be published. We will build up the AI office well ahead compared to when the AI Act will enter into force, because we need to be ready from day one. We will work and engage with companies, because the first step of the AI Act is engagement on large generative algorithm with the companies and to draw together, I mean, the way we need to design the compliance, and then bring to life what we have announced 1 month ago, which is our innovation package, which is made of 2 pillars. One is the so-called AI factories, which is a provocation. AI factory doesn't exist. But it's to say we want to upgrade our supercomputing infrastructure, the best in the world, but even more geared to AI, data centers, quality data, and especially people. So innovation comes from startup. We have a number of startups already using our supercomputers, but we want also the large companies to be part of it. So a bit the title of this panel, AI Made in Europe. And then the other element, it's generative AI for EU, so to work on a number of verticals, which are in the area of genomics, in the area of personalized medicine, in the area of climate modeling, in the area of pharma. So, and agri-food and the rest. I mean, we have a number of verticals where we will actually use and test generative AI. That's within the office, together, of course, with the compliance with the regulation.
So what you're saying is that you will both build capabilities, you will look at like investment and also, I mean, the skilling, the more development side, and then you will be responsible for the compliance. Yeah?
Because the motto connect, you need to understand before, I mean, you tell people to comply. And that's why, I mean, the first thing is to make sure we have the experts and we have also the capability to foster innovation. And together with this, of course, we will make sure that the law is complied with. I mean.
Yeah. Okay, very interesting. I have this dream that, you know, as a small SME, you can just go in and write, you know, all your things in, and it will tell you, yes, you are compliant. Yes. We cannot give you an answer, but if you don't have an answer within a month, you are okay. But maybe. Just an idea.
That was our proposal in the Gigabit Infrastructure Act. Yeah. Unfortunately, the member states resisted to this idea of silent means yes, but we got very near to it. I completely agree. And with techniques like the European wallet and other things, you can be extremely close to your dream.
Great. Yes.
I'm a dreamer, you know. Yeah. Like you.
So Dragos, you were the rapporteur in the Parliament. We did not always agree on everything, but we have very good collaboration. One of the worries that you know, Digital Europe represents around 45,000 SMEs, and that's the backbone of our economy, right? So, and no matter what we say, I mean, we can say a lot about regulation, but it is, if you are 50 people and you have like maybe 10 pieces of regulation you need to comply with, it is something that you need to set resources aside. So how do we make sure that we implement, in a way that we don't let them hire lawyers and consultants and but that they just run like hell, and we make sure that we make the compliance easy? How can we help here? How can industry help, and how can EU help?
Well, I'll make it very simple by making sure that the spirit that we've put at the heart of the AI Act in its final form is going to be rolling out in production. Because from the very start of our preparation inside Parliament and then the negotiations with the Council and the Commission all the way to the very end, this was one of the agendas that we've had consistently, to make sure that this act is done in a way that actually puts the right enablers in place to lower the cost of compliance as much as possible, to avoid some of the mistakes that we've done, and we have to be honest about that. Some of the mistakes that we have done in the past in the way we regulated, not only this sector, but other sectors as well, and we indeed created barriers. And also think very much at leveling up the playing field, particularly for the smaller companies. And there's a whole array of measures that we have inserted in this text, from the exceptions for R&D, from the special provisions for SMEs, to the sandboxes, to the way the governance is being set up, to the self-assessment versus third-party assessment. So all of these things are meant to make sure that if you are an SME, if you don't want to spend money on lawyers, you can still achieve your certainty to go on the market and be compliant by self-assessing. How will you self-assess if you're an IT engineer and not a lawyer? Because you'll have standards. Again, something that, for example, for the GDPR, you did not have. So you had to have at least a minimum understanding of a legal text to be able to know whether you are GDPR compliant or not. And that meant that you had to almost inevitably go and knock on the door of a lawyer, at least to know whether you can actually do something or not. So the combination of all this, hopefully we will have in 2 years' time. By the time the EU Act will come into effect, we will have the standards necessary for the IT engineer in his or her garage to be able to read beyond the legal gibberish of the text and understand, okay, what do I need to do? How do I self-assess to know whether I'm in that zone of risk or in that zone of risk, or maybe I'm not at all in any zone of risk? And let's not forget that. Let's not forget that figure which the Commission put at the very beginning. I don't know if it's true or not entirely, 90%. Maybe it's not 90, maybe it's 85, maybe it's 80. But there's a whole body of AI out there that is going to continue to be developed to grow without regulation, regulation-free. But even if you are developing AI in one of the areas that are being explicitly listed in the text as being with potential high risk, again, you have the enablers to achieve that compliance with minimum cost or as minimum cost as possible. So I'm convinced that, but now I come back to the issue of spirit. And this is going to be key in how the EUA office is going to understand its role and actually play out its role. And most importantly, because a lot of the, particularly for the SMEs that will be developing maybe smaller AI applications, smaller AI solutions, or targeted to certain sectors, they will be regulated mostly at national level. So how the governments will understand, and I'm happy that there are ministers also in this panel, how governments will understand their role and what is this spirit that is intrinsic to the regulation in the way they will be setting up the national regulators, the national sandboxes, which will not have to be a place where you are afraid to go because you're going to be reprimanded by the regulator for what you want to do, for what you want to test, or the assumptions of your algorithm. On the contrary, the sandbox populated by those representatives of the state will have to be a place where you should feel encouraged to innovate. You should feel encouraged to make mistakes even in the way you test your application before you go on the market. And I think that if the member states understand that, and I always say I would like to also see a positive competition between sandboxes. Who has the best sandbox? Who has the most open, the sexiest sandbox? Because that will also be, I think, a very interesting competitive edge in actually creating ecosystems that would be effervescent in a way for the creation of AI. And I think that, again, if all of these things happen, and at least for us as legislators, that's exactly how we imagined the AI Act to play out, I think that indeed the AI Act will not be a barrier for innovation. On the contrary, it's going to create that essential, which the minister referred to, that essential predictability that you need in a market, which coupled with what you need to create AI, which is brain, compute power, and data, which, again, we now also putting in place. I think then AI Made in Europe, which was the title of this panel, can happen.
Okay, for sure. I mean, I urge, just on that note, we promised, and we actually discussed that once, we promised to try to showcase an SME's road through the legislative cycle of different legislations. And I urge you all to read it, and of course it's also for you, to try to navigate and try to live the life of an SME trying to implement, regulations for real. And it's meant, we all have the same target, but we maybe have different perspectives, and it's very important for us as an organization to bring that perspective. Let's just take a pause here and see on the poll if we have a result we have 64% saying that this will have a positive effect, so that's very good. There's a lot of hope and believe in this. So, and 36% saying no. So on that, let me turn to Peter. Peter, you are the Chief Digital Officer of Schneider Electric, and you have been working with IoT, product management, digital transformation in EU and US. What do you think the new AI rules will have of effect on your company?
Yeah, thanks for that very interesting question, which kind of forces me to look into the future, which is always a bit difficult. But let me even start to answer that question a bit broader. I believe AI will have an impact on the next 30 years, which is comparable to the internet 30 years ago. So if you think of the internet 30 years ago, and some of you, like me, might be old enough to remember the time before the internet, right? And maybe you remember the first email you sent or the first website you looked at. I can still remember that. I also remember the first time I tried ChatGPT now, right? So, and everything that I have seen recently, particularly in the last year, gives me good reasons to believe that AI will have a comparable impact on the next 30 years. When I say that, that's not an impact on our company. That's an impact on every business, on every society, and on every single company in these countries. So I think whoever you are, whatever business you are in, AI will be transformative for you. That's what I believe in. That's also what Schneider believes in. And certainly we saw a very interesting year last year, which was kind of the rapid acceleration of AI, with a new technology being launched called generative AI. But let's not forget, AI was around for a long time. And the way we look at AI is really in two ways. We differentiate AI. We look at AI in the angle of what we call analytical AI. That's the stuff that has been around for a longer time. Analytical AI is really generating insights into mostly structured data. That can be data from metering or it's in many cases it's time series data that you collect from many assets that you want to monitor. And then there's the relatively new discipline which we call generative AI, which is about generating new content from mostly unstructured data. Mm-hmm. And I think both disciplines will be very, very transformative. And Cecilia, your question was, what does that mean for Schneider? Actually, we created already 3 years ago the position of a Chief AI Officer in Schneider. At that time, we were mainly dealing with the analytical AI part. Now we have pivoted to do both analytical and generative AI. And I want to give maybe 2 examples what we are already today, and then an outlook what we might be doing tomorrow. So on the analytical AI part, we started to use this at scale to really generate insights into the data that we collect for our customers on millions of connected assets. What are these connected assets? Our business is very much around energy management and energy distribution. So energy metering, generating insights on the demand side of energy consumption and allowing us and our customers to give them predictions on when to use energy in the best way, how to cost optimize the consumption of your energy. And this is something that we already do today. We also believe that, and that's a look into the future, that the future of energy and the energy transformation is tightly coupled with the digital transformation. We don't think that the energy transformation is possible without the digital transformation. And that energy transformation and the digital transformation will be heavily based on AI. Our prediction is the future of energy is that every home, every building will be a microgrid. Millions of microgrid interact with each other. They trade energy. Sometimes they have access energy, that sometimes they need energy. This is a problem that we cannot solve in a deterministic way anymore. We will be needing AI at scale for this. Now let me switch to the other dimension, which we call the generative AI. This is something that we use in Schneider mostly internally right now. So we've started to fully embrace that last year with some commercial off-the-shelf products to introduce it to our R&D community. So the whole software engineering community, that's about 10,000 people in Schneider, are getting these tools that help them to create code. Some companies call them co-pilots. We are using the same for sales to really support our sales organization with generative AI capabilities. We are also using generative AI to build it into our own products to have a more natural interface towards our products. So after 1 year of generative AI, we already see dozens of use cases only in Schneider. So this is kind of to underline and substantiate why we believe it will be just as transformative as the internet. Now, what is my message to all of you? We are at the beginning of this. This is probably a journey over the next, 30 years, maybe longer. There will be unbelievable number of business opportunities that nobody has thought of. And I recommend embrace AI at this stage. Of course, always in compliance with the regulations, and also regulations will really evolve. I view the AI Act as a positive thing as well. Of course, we need to make sure in the EU that the AI Act doesn't hinder us to develop the businesses that will be enabled by AI. And again, want to close with my initial statement. I think AI will be as disruptive as the internet has been 30 years ago.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I would say we had Anne Mettler on stage, and she said, we still are subsidizing heavily, even Russian gas in Europe. And if we put all that money on the digital transformation of the energy grid, we would actually be able to transform the grid in only a few years. It was something that will stick with me, and maybe move the money where we want them to be, not where they are right now. Anyway, so Julie, turning to you, you're the EMEA managing partner from EY. You work with a lot of different companies, and you see all these use cases, right? So on that positive note, where are the sweet spots of Europe? Where do you think that we will see that Europe will win some of these consolidation games with AI? Where do we go? Where do we focus?
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying I think Peter read my notes. It's a little unfair because I also think we're at the very beginning of AI. And I'm going to start off by saying I think it was named inappropriately. Actually, I think dangerously. AI is an artificial intelligence. It's augmented intelligence. And if you can think about it in that way, you will understand that it's there to empower each and every one of you to take raw data, whatever form, and turn it into insights. Now that sounds like something incredibly easy. Like, Cecilia, who cares? But over the last 100 years, we have organized every business out there in workflows that generate data and take data and try to create insights or outcomes with that. AI is going to revolutionize that. And that's why I believe it's going to impact every single job, as long as it's done by a human, to change the focus of that job. Not necessarily to get rid of it, but definitely to impact it and change it. And so I agree with Peter, we should be embracing this augmentation to make us better, to make us more insightful, faster, and more efficient. So Cecilia, when I talk about use cases, and I will, I want people in this room to understand what I'm talking about might not sound so sexy yet. Let's be really honest. It might not sound incredibly sexy yet, but we're practically, although I agree with Amelia that we've been doing this for a long time, we're at the very beginning of the journey. So what do I see? We have been working with hospitals in the healthcare industry, processing large groups of data to really help direct on patient care, to point out early warning indicators and referencing them to where care would be best, to do care monitoring within the hospital, providing doctors signs, early warning signs of what needs to change in different treatments. We've been working with logistic companies across Europe, and you might be surprised that implementing AI can completely revolutionize delivery networks, increasing the serviceability by 65%, taking out 15% of the cost, and being over 30% faster. You talk about an impact to sustainability? Think of all of the empty trucks driving roads that we don't need them to drive anymore. AI is changing the game, and already today, you can see that impact. Let's go to the financial sector. I know it's early days, but 60% of the larger banks across the European space are investing today in AI. What are they doing? Developing fraud indicators to better process anti-money laundering claims, to better give indications of fraud and suspicious activity, to use it for detection. Why? It'll make our financial system safer. It takes a lot of the fraud off the table, early days, but it would also improve the efficiency of the system. You look at, and I know there was a healthcare panel, so I don't want to steal all the thunder there, but you look at healthcare and you look at drug development, AI is revolutionizing the speed from R&D to actual drug delivery, from understanding drug-to-drug impacts, and taking out time and cost. This is going to make a huge impact. And I still feel, despite all that, we're at the very beginning. Cecilia, I have to steal from you a little bit. And you're going to laugh when I say that. When I talk about AI, I always talk about 5 C's. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh. I talk about needing competence. And for us to win, for us to change the game in Europe, we need to invest in skills. And you and I both know that and feel that. We need to invest in collaboration. And this panel is a great example of collaboration. It's public and private working together to get the best result. No one of us can do this alone, to get the infrastructure right that we need, to get the regulation right that we need. And yes, there's challenge and tension along the way, but we really get the best results together. We need capital. I want to be really clear about that. If there was ever a plug for Capital Markets Union, I said it really small and really fast, we need capital. And that means Europeans finding a way to invest in startup, invest in projects, taking some of that efficiency and reinvesting it in our markets. We need consistency. I am so proud of the AI Act. I always say, strong regulation makes for stronger companies. But we need one regulation, not 27, please. And there is a huge chance now as we go to implementation to get one consistent sense of implementation so that companies that are operating across this space feel the power of the common market. And my last, and maybe it's even most important, I'm going to say we, because I have spent my entire career in Europe, in different parts of Europe. We love to sit on panels and in discussions, hitting ourselves with the wet noodle constantly. We're not as good as the Americans. The Chinese are going to come get us. Korea is faster. Guys, we need confidence. There are fantastic examples of AI out there. There's incredible business opportunities. We have fantastic regulators who are working to protect us. We can do this, and we need to embrace it instead of being afraid of it. Doesn't mean that we are blind, but we need to take the challenge head on. So those are my 5 C's.
Yeah, thank you so much. So with all that confidence and all that positive spirit, let me turn to the Minister for Digital Governance in Greece, and congratulations on your new role. Greece is one of the countries that is like up and coming. You are, increasing your position in the DESIDE index. You have done huge progress on connectivity. I mean, so how is Greece, first of all, 2 questions. So how is Greece planning to enable companies to use AI much more actively in your strategy? And second of all, how do you see the governance with not ending up with the country-by-country model and the initiative coming out of the Commission with the AI office?
First of all, I'd like to thank you. And I really agree with many things that have been already told. Do we have to be afraid of AI? Is AI the new fire invention? I suppose yes, it could be. Is the new car invention? Yes, and there is a critical, let's say, factor that it is coming very fast. The acceleration is much bigger than the car invention, than the personal computer invention, or the internet invention. We have to be afraid of AI. No, if we follow what EU is thinking and has already been written in the AI Act. And I'm very optimistic about that. We don't have to over-regulate. We just have to say what we don't want to do with AI. And this is enough, because we cannot predict in 5, 10 years what AI could do. So let's say compromise about what a machine can do, can judge people, can judge or operate, make an operation without any human intervention of people. I think that no, it cannot be. But for all the rest, let's leave companies and technology do what can do very, very well. And it's a matter of fact that in Greece, we have already all these years so that AI is coming. The Prime Minister have already formed a committee of experts about AI. And now, through our Ministry of Digital Community, Digital Governance, we started to see the interventions in the public sector, which is critical also where do you have data. We need data, we need HPCs, and the Europe HPC initiative is very important for that. We have to open our data also and create an ecosystem that will for sure enhance all these new companies that need the data, because as all are saying, the new oil is our data, and we can help on that. And also need green energy, because we are discussing about technology only with energy, let's say, meters, about kilowatt hours. But how about the green and sustainable energy that AI needs? If we can feel and find the way, the solutions about all that data, HPCs, and green energy, for sure we can go much further. But how about the crucial, let's say, factor, which is the trust? Because it's a matter of trust how to build the new ecosystem of AI. About 2 months back, the Greek government has performed the new AI Citizen Helper, which is a bot based on one of the most famous models that gives the answers to all the about 2,000 digital services of Greek state, and also the 4,000 processes that a citizen can search for. And it's very important that every day we have more than 10,000 questions about a citizen can find his way step by step to solve problems through the state. So AI technology, it's a matter of trust. This is something we have to pay attention on. And last but not least point that we have to mention, why we need technology? Why we need AI? To live safer, to live happier, to have better communities. But having better communities also means that we have to, let's say, build a better democracy. It's a matter of democracy And it's very important that Europe now has also issued the DSA, the NIS2 guidelines. So yes, let's build better democracies by abstracting extreme voices and opinions, and AI can help on that by finding and isolate misinformation, disinformation. This is something that we have to work all together harder.
Thank you so much. So definitely a very clear message, maybe also to the new AI office. Keep it simple. Let's focus at the high-risk area first and foremost, making sure that where it can go wrong is where we have the focus. And then, of course, on the enabling effect. And, of course, one of those places are threats to democracy, where we need to take it very serious, that we actually have mechanisms to prevent that. So I'm looking at the question. I'm supposed to be doing a second round now, but most of the questions you already answered, actually. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to give you each 1 minute to answer the same question. So the question is, if you could measure success, and don't repeat each other's, you can only have, if it's said, you need to find a new one. If you can measure the success, not of the AI Act, but AI made in Europe, what would be the measurement that you would choose? Across industry, across society, whatever, the stage is open, but what would be the metrics of success that you would like to measure in 2030? The second one is, what is the personal contribution that you would bring to actually making that happen? So, did you get it? Metrics, and what will you do to make it happen? And I am gonna go in the same order, and it's not fair because I didn't give you a lot of time to prepare, okay? So, Emilia, please.
So measure success. I know you will be shocked now, but quality of life of European citizens. And then personal contribution. I'm associate professor at a university. I will train as many experts as possible in AI.
Super cool. Good. Then let's jump to Roberto.
Well, we have thousands of indicators now, digital decade on
You
AI
can only
success.
have one.
I know, that's why it's tough. No, I'm going to go out of the indicators. I really would like to see in each individual sector of the European society economy to have generative AI made in Europe. That, I think, because it means that we have applied well our capabilities and our rules. And we are, as Europeans, able to do high-tech products which are recognized to be at the highest standards of safety. So that would be my...
And how will you do it?
Well, I guess I have a little responsibility for the time being.
Yeah, okay, so Dragas, metrics and what is your personal?
Success. What I would like to see by 2030 is governments themselves understanding and also going down the path, not only understanding that they need to be themselves AI states and AI platform states. Because them providing services and reinventing the social contract for societies and citizens represents themselves transforming and incorporating AI into the way they deliver services and the interaction between the citizens and the state. So for me, that would be a nice measure of success. And in terms of personal contribution, that's an interesting question because now, in theory, I'm personally riding into the sunset, both physically because the mandate is over and also because the role of the parliament institutionally is ending on the 10th of April with a final vote. But I would like to remain somewhat connected to the implementation, which I think is now even more important than what we've done so far, and make sure that some of that spirit that I mentioned earlier and some of the vision that we had as Parliament that we put into this act is actually going to be reflected in the way it's going to be implemented and rolled out.
Super. Peter.
Yeah, I'm a business person, so I'll give you a hard KPI, and I like the exercise of driving it down to one KPI. For me, that's clearly GDP growth driven through and enabled by AI. And because this also allows us to compare how are we doing in Europe compared to other geographies if we compare GDP growth enabled through AI. What's my personal contribution? Actually, at Schneider, we are not looking at GDP growth, but we, at Schneider, our approach to AI is not a technology approach, but a business approach. All of these AI use cases we are driving, they need to have a top line or a bottom line impact, and we are measuring this, right? So, and if many companies do this, right, this will contribute somehow to the GDP growth. So my personal contribution is I will help drive that in Schneider, and we have made it a mission really to drive AI at scale in Schneider.
Cool. Julie.
So I'm going to go not GDP, although I crossed it off my list. I'm going to go to the number of companies in Europe that are successful at this, and I'm going to say the number of the tops, top of the big, top of the SME, the number of startups, because I believe by 2030, all of them will have an AI-infused business model in some way, shape, or form. So I really think we should look at corporate success and where this is going, both in the corporate sense, but also individual for entrepreneurs. My personal contribution, I kind of mentioned, I really think competence is number one, skill set. I believe as we expand on the AI model, the digital divide and watching out for that is really important. I sponsor personally an app for digital literacy. It's been rolled out now in 16 countries, hitting 150,000 young people. It's early days. I'm looking for ways to scale. It's free, and it really helps get people excited about this. So more to come.
And last but not least, Dimitris.
So, how to measure it? We have to believe really in what we are doing. So participation is the key word. And this year there is a year of elections, as you know. So this could be, let's say, a scale of measurement. How European citizens are participating and they feel that it is something that has to do with them. So we have to count on that. And also, from my part, the contribution has to be how we can bring the state to citizens' hands and the phones and persuade them that technology can make their life better, so they will trust in us, believe in us, and participate, as I said.
I think this might be the best way to end a panel where we have really hard KPIs and personal contributions. I'm a big believer in the end, it's all about the people who drive the change, right? And at least here we have ministers, MEPs, the Commission, CEOs, executives from companies. But it is exactly the point of the manifesto, a digital powerhouse. It's what we measure is what we get. What we measure is what we get. If I am to add my personal KPIs, it would be the number of companies from non-EU countries moving their headquarter, AI companies, moving their headquarter to Europe to scale here. Because that would mean that we would have the skills, we would have the capital, we would have the innovation, and we would have broken down those interesting barriers and have the love story and the marriage between the companies and the single market back on track again. With that, please let me give you a big thank you for this panel. And before, yes, no, I don't forget it. No, easy.
Yeah, I think I have almost as good a way.
No, before I ask you to leave the stage, I would like to give one of the panelists an award. The person is the master of the digital. It is a person who has been in the Commission for a long, long time. He has looked at connectivity, space technologies. You have driven the change of funding towards digital investment of the digital decade. The first time I met you, I was a rookie. I didn't know much about all the politics, and I had apparently the courage to say all the unpolitical things, and you listened. I said, we need to do a matrix on how we do this, do industrial. I still have it on a napkin somewhere. And we discussed how we could boost innovation and investment in digital in other sectors than just thinking digital. We've had a great collaboration. You have started also TTC, EU, US, India, our dialogues with Japan, Korea, And with that, for me, it was a no-brainer to nominate you and to make you the Masters of Digital, the Master of Digital 2024. Roberto Viola, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for your amazing
Thank you.
contribution
Thank
to
you
this.
to you and to Digital Europe. It's really an honor. Thanks very much. Really, I have to say that I remember the day that you came to my office with this matrix. And you were very forceful to say, we need to change every sector. And you're doing it. So well done, and thank you. And also, I like what you wrote to me, that you wanted to award this to the work that to the people working in DigiConnect. And I really taking this for them, because these are people that work day and night. They always a bit criticize. It's right to criticize the Commission every now and then. It's okay. But sometimes also to bring home a little reward, it's also okay for all the work they've been doing in these years. I mean, many of them have wrote a Chip Act during New Year's Eve. Really, the night on New Year's Eve, I had a team writing the Chip Act. Not to speak about the nights on the AI and the rest. These are people working really day and night, and I take this for them. And many, many thanks to Digital Europe for the work you do and the importance you give to digital. I think here really this advocacy, this bringing together things. Also, when you criticize the Commission, which is again right, it brings the salt.
Constructive dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The salt which is necessary. I mean, I read with interest the single market love story. Let's make it really a love story.
Yes.
You come with very, very good ideas, which we need to take and study very attentively for the next mandate. Many thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you to DigiConnect.
Thank you.
Yeah. With that, a new Master of Digital and a great panel. Thank you so much, everyone, for your great contributions and for a great panel. Thank you.
Thank you.